All right, guys, welcome to Comics and Cribs, the podcast.
Episode 5.
Episode 5. And I am here. This is Lou, here with Kevin and our guest, Regan from
First Rate Financial.
First Rate Financial.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Take
you
two.
being here. Take two.
Take two.
Yeah, we had tech issues last night. So
This one's better that we got our first video attempt going on now.
yeah, so we can, for those of you learning about Spotify, Spotify rewards you for uploading video.
Yeah.
So if you want to get prioritized on Spotify, you got to have video. So that's why we're doing video. And if you're offended by our ugly faces, we apologize ahead of time.
They should be used to it by now.
By now, yeah, for real, for real. We are living, breathing scarecrows at this point. All right, so weekly summary.
Yeah. Let's see. The market is increased inventory-wise, about 30 or 40 listings from last week. It's about in the Valley, was it about 318 listings.
Right.
Some of those are not road accessible, though, so you fly in or boat in or something like that. But we're seeing an uptick in inventory, so that's a good thing for both buyers and some sellers, too.
And people need to be remembering that when they're looking at Zillow and they're looking at Redfin, a lot of times it won't tell you that it's not.
Yeah, sometimes you can
accessible.
get, they don't have all the information, so it's always best to contact somebody that's local and in the market and can give you the most accurate, up-to-date information.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that the disclosures are not something that, correct me if I'm wrong, please correct me if I'm ever wrong, but Zillow and Redfin do not put out the disclosures.
I have not seen him before. No, I don't. I personally don't go on them anymore since I got in the industry. So I don't remember ever seeing them in there though.
Yeah, I've never been aware of disclosures ever being on any of those big websites.
Yeah.
So that's another critical reason why you need to use a realtor. We can go in there, we can look at those disclosures, we can look at those confidential notes and see if, the property has some hidden dangers in there, if the place has been flooded, if it's been in a flood zone.
And then we can always call. We have the contact info for the other side, so if we have any direct questions, we can send them that way too and get the answers.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Regan, man.
What's going on?
Brother, we know that you're in the mortgage business. Why on earth would you be in the mortgage business during this crazy time?
Right. The dream is to be able to help people obtain home ownership. At the end of the day, it's been a long-term goal of mine to break into real estate. And so, I know times are a little bit tough right now, but tough times build tough people.
That we talked about that yesterday, and I that resonates, man.
Yeah.
That resonates because you see who the tough ones are right now, and you see the ones that are no insult to them because you got to feed your family. But there's a lot of people bailing out of the industry on all sides right now. Because it is rough right now.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. The people that weather this period right now are going to be your better licensees, your better reps, your better salespeople for this industry.
Yeah, well,
in my humble opinion.
Right.
You learn with your tribulations and all the struggles that anybody has to go through, and if they stick with it and come out the other side, they're going to improve.
Oh yeah.
On multiple levels.
Yeah, we just an analogy. When I was a trooper, you go to Trooper Academy in Sitka, and one of the drills they do is a stress drill, and one of the things that happens there, and you see it from many people, it's the first time they've ever been punched in the face, literally.
Yeah.
And you see their reaction, and you could tell the different reaction between someone that's been in some type of contact sport. Your hockey players and stuff seem to do exceptionally well during that drill, whereas your people that have dodged that type of activity, they go into shutdown mode, and then you have to pull them out of it, because we want everybody to win. We don't want to wash people out. We want everybody to win. But it's those tough lessons, right?
Yeah.
That make us better. And trust me, in this industry right now, being new to the industry, there are days that I feel like I'm being kicked in the teeth, man. When you're getting outbid for a home, or and that's another reason why I'm happy you're here. I asked Jared when he was here. I'm going to ask you. There are certain mortgage lenders right now that are advertising cash offers.
Right.
Can you explain that?
Right. So I've heard of that. I haven't encountered it myself. But yeah. So essentially, from what it sounds like, is they're hiding the lending behind a cash offer, and I'm not sure at what point they disclose that it's financing, but it's kind of a thing that they've been doing to try and attempt to get their financed offers accepted as a cash contract.
I'm curious if, because with cash, cash is king for a lot of things, especially if you're in a very tight competing area.
Yeah.
There's less required. You don't have to have all the inspections if you don't want to. There's no mandatory appraisal and stuff like that. So cash does provide a big incentive to take over.
Right.
But if there is that lending on the back end, I'm curious how much of those typical financing requirements carry along with it.
And are they using private investors
Yeah.
for that, or are they actually using banks on that one?
Right.
I'm
'Cause
curious.
That seems more like an investment firm.
Yeah.
That would be dipping it. That would put themselves out there for something like that. But then again, I mean, the property is always the security. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's not as high risk as one would think. But it sounds like this practice started in California. Is the way
Really?
the research that the minimal research I've done on it, and one of the companies I researched was Homelight, and Homelight they started off doing it in California because that's what was happening. Realtors and customers were approaching them saying, "Look, we've lost on every single bid,
Right.
on every home, and I don't have $500,000 sitting in my bank account to offer a cash offer.
Right.
What can you help us with?"
Yeah.
And then they developed that program, and I think you explained it the best I've heard it so far, that they're essentially hiding the lending.
Yeah. Is this something that you guys have experienced locally?
I've
or on
heard
your
about it
team?
once up here, and it was like during the peak of the pandemic, so
Really?
the peak of the rush. I haven't heard of it since.
Apparently, it
Directly
doesn't
to
have to
me.
be disclosed until
I think there's a certain date to it. I believe
There's got to be.
unless they. We'd have to go on Homelight again on their website
Yeah.
to look at the details, because they explain it on their YouTube channel and everything as well. But it sounds like what they do is they do the entire transaction. They step in as the cash offer, and then at the end, at closing, after closing, they quit. It sounds like they quit claim it
To the buyer?
to the buyer.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, until someone says it's illegal, they're going to keep doing it.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd like
no.
to do that.
Yeah.
Who's to say that they'd ever, fall through the contract? Not saying that they wouldn't, but there's always that risk.
Right.
But that's the only way they could do a cash offer, right?
I
No
don't-
risk to them.
Yeah.
Because, well, think about it. I have had, so I had something similar, but not really. Whereas I had a client do a cash offer, but they were using their parents' money.
Okay.
And
So
then
like they were
the parents wanted, the reason that got him, the reason I bring up the parents, because the parents in the background wanted a lien.
they were holding the note.
Yeah, they wanted to hold a lien on the note.
Yeah.
And they wanted that to be very clear during title, but they wanted to keep it a cash offer, the entire transaction. Does that make sense?
Did it
Interesting,
did it
yeah.
close in the title go to the parent's name, or did it go to the
No,
the buyer?
it went to the buyers, but the parents insisted that title
Put a lien on.
have a lien on it.
Yeah.
So it was a cash offer the whole time.
Sounds like-
So I wonder if that happened here locally. That was
Yeah.
one of my transactions. So I wonder if that's what Homelight is doing on a larger scale.
Sounds like we need to get a title person in.
Yeah. Ooh.
That'd be a good.
There's an opportunity.
Yeah.
So very noble that you want to help people. You want to help people achieve the dream of a home ownership. I think that this generation has a lot of this generation has given up on the dream of home ownership.
Well, there's just so
They've
much
settled for
going
renting.
against them
Yeah.
right now, like cost of everything, and then wages aren't matching in some areas, or in
Right.
some. Yeah, it's
Right.
So what are you doing to counter that, to educate them?
So yeah, a lot of it starts exactly with education. Showing them that there is an opportunity to purchase their first home. There still is low down payment options, right? Even though that rates are at a high over the last 6-7 years, there still is opportunity to buy a home at the right price. If rates were to drop to an affordable range, I'd imagine that based on inventory, prices would continue to rise. So, right now, yes, rates might be a little bit higher than, in COVID, but prices kind of reflect that as well. So we're still on a limited supply.
Yeah, inventory is still a couple hundred down month to month from prior to the pandemic.
Because I want to say around this time prior to the pandemic, there would have been 500 homes.
Yeah, 400 to 600 was the norm on any given month. Yeah. And we'll be having this month's numbers coming out here in the next week or two, so we'll know how much has changed over April.
Right?
Yeah.
And you were speaking yesterday offline that we're seeing the new homes are finishing up too, correct?
Yeah, some of the new construction homes were started late fall or early this year. They're starting to be complete. I toured a couple of them this past couple days. In like the mid 400s and a little bit low, and new neighborhood, but it's a real pretty neighborhood, and it's a great time to try to get, if you want the new construction without the wait, it's a great time to get into them. And there's still some that are not quite finished, but there's just enough done where you can see it, get a good feel for how the layout's going to be, and then you can still pick out your colors or some type of trim, maybe depending on how far they're into it they are. So if you don't want to wait the 6 to 8 months to a year for new construction, it's a good time. This is a good option for you. Be that first homeowner and get it in there quicker.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I would tell people, and I remember, God, I was kicking myself in the ass my entire time in the military because I was like, I had so many friends, E5 and above, that every time they transferred, they always bought something.
My uncle's that way.
Always bought something. And I was like, nah, military housing. They're like, bro, all that money could have been going into a personal investment that you could have been building equity on. And
or if you ever got sent back to that station, you have a place already.
You'd have a place.
Yeah.
And man, I didn't think that broadly until it was near the end of my career that I finally got the courage to do it and realized, wow, this home buying thing isn't as hard as I thought it was.
Yeah.
Because we took the easy way out.
Yeah.
And I would tell people, man, they need to be hitting you up. They need to be taking that chance, right? Because that's the first step.
Yeah.
You tell people that, at least for me anyway, and I believe you do the same thing, I tend to send people to someone like you first.
Right.
Yeah, I send to people that I've worked with consistently and have a good relationship with, or like you and I have had lunch several times, and I'm very confident in your abilities,
right.
And I just make sure I don't tell any of my clients who to go with. I'll give them 2 or 3 names that I'm comfortable with and say these people I know will take care of you. Or if you don't feel confident, then I'll find somebody else for them. But I at least want them to get in touch with the people that I know will handle it right, handle the transaction right, close on time, or close to as best as we can, and the communication, because that's the key for me.
Right, 100%.
And what's great about that is for you is you're also a new homeowner, or somewhat new, and for new construction, right? You have a multifamily?
Correct.
Right. How was the process for you? Because that was before you got into the industry, right?
Yeah, before I got into the industry. So yeah, it was definitely a interesting time. I had started the construction of my home, where I had accepted the contract to the construction right before COVID kind of swept through. So I did that in February 2020. And yeah, everything came to a screeching halt for a while.
Yeah.
Took about 12 months due to a lot of inventory issues, things along those lines. But I saw it through. It's a great opportunity, and super happy with the way things had turned out. But yeah, it was an interesting experience, that's for sure.
And you used First Rate for your lending, so they were a big. Your experience with that was a big reason why you decided to join them.
Yeah, that was a big proponent of that. When I had graduated in 2016, I had the interest to get into real estate, right? Mm-hmm. And so, in order to do that, you've got to be 19 years old.
Yep.
Figured I'd get some sort of sales experience, right, to try and make myself look as attractive as possible, because I had 12 months to burn. So I ended up at a car dealership as a sales representative. I was there a little bit longer than I intended. I was there for 6.5 years, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't something that I was passionate about. And so, yeah, by purchasing my primary residence is actually how I discovered mortgage, piqued my interest, spoke to quite a few agents about it, kind of asked them for their advice, their guidance. And yeah, it was something that it really interested me. So for the next, 10 to 12 months, I hit the YouTube University, a lot of podcasts, tried to learn the industry from the outside in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I made the commitment to proceed forward. I tend to be a little bit more financial savvy, but this still kind of scratches that real estate itch.
What's the process of becoming a lender? I know you have to take courses and there's
Right.
a test you have to take, right? Can you talk more
Right.
about that?
Right, yeah. So in order to get your loan origination license, you've got to pass your NMLS exam. So that is a 125 multiple question test, right? In order to take that test, you've got to have 20 hours of pre-licensing completed. And you could take the test at that point. However, the test is extremely difficult. So your first chances of success or passing with that test is roughly 55%. Your second chance is 43%, and it continues to kind of degrade from that point. So it's something you really want to study for in addition to your 20-hour pre-licensing. So I think I studied collectively for probably about 70 to 80 hours in order to pass the test, but it's a brutal test.
Damn.
Rightfully so, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. You don't want anybody just coming in off the street and be like, yeah, let's just do this.
Right.
Yeah, because it would be very sketchy. I suspect there's a lot of ethics involved in that,
Tons.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just shows the dedication and determination, which is what you want in somebody you're going to
Right.
handle such a big transaction with.
Right.
What's your post-licensing education requirements like? Because we have to do every 2 years, was it 20 hours?
Yeah.
20 hours of continuing education?
Yeah.
Is yours guys similar?
Yeah, so it depends on if you do it yearly, it's an 8-hour yearly course
Oh, okay.
of continuing education. I think you can extend it beyond that point, but you have to study for an additional hours. But I think it's typically 8 hours is your continuing education.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because our licensing period is 2 years, and so we
Right.
have the 2 years to finish that and code of ethics and stuff like that.
And
But,
how many hours is that?
That's what the cool thing is. We have there's 8 what's called DCE where you have to take these types of courses.
Right.
So they can either be 1 to 2 hours. Sometimes there's 3-hour courses, and then you have 12 elective hours you can fill.
Right.
So and what's great about a lot of brokerages and lenders even and home inspectors, a lot of people in the industry are
Title
also
companies.
teachers. They're title companies, and so they have all these classes. Most of them are elective classes, and but it's just a great way to learn about inspections, lending. We had one recently. What was the most recent one that we had?
Oh, geez. The one I remember was Biff's home inspection.
Yeah, the
he's
home
actually,
inspection.
He's actually certified, so he was able to do a course
Yeah.
with us. And then
So
we
we-
had a
it-
social media course from one of the
Yeah, we've
title
had social
companies.
media ones. I did a fair housing one recently. And then there's always designation courses and education courses that aren't required that we can do on the outside. Like, for instance, I have my military relocation professional designation as well as my ABR, which is Accredited Buyer's Representative. And that was a 40-hour course alone.
Yeah.
And so I took that a couple months ago and I got that done. I'm always looking for education outside of what's mandatory. I'd like to learn about it. I want to be as knowledgeable and helpful to my clients as I can be. I think you feel the same way, Lou.
Yeah, you have to be. When I do love the fact that with this industry, I mean, the mandatory training is big for me because I saw it lacking even in law enforcement. We had a lot of training up front, and then there was no follow-up training. And I think that's why a lot of people in law enforcement were getting in trouble and, getting themselves in hot water because there was no requirement for refresher training for the most part. Unless you were doing defensive tactics on your own, you were joining like a Gracie gym or something
Yeah.
else, you were losing all of that,
Yeah, if you don't use it, you lose it.
You
A lot
lose
of it,
it.
or you might not lose it, but it's not always at the top of your mind. Like, 'cause we don't. A lot of our things could be fairly typical and the same type of transaction over and over. And then there's that one unique one. You're like, ooh, I know this, but I need to refresh. So it always helps to.
Well, it's interesting because at least in law enforcement, I know that there's actual case law. There's lawsuits on fail to train, where if the agency fails to provide training, and you get yourself in hot water, you can sue. And many of those plaintiffs have prevailed in that. And I would say that it's very similar in this industry. Here's the one thing that I've noticed about this industry, for instance, is that ethics training. Was it annually or every?
It's every licensing period.
Every licensing period, right? But with the troopers, we did it one time at the academy, and so I can speak candidly about it because I was the chairman of the Alaska Police Standards Council. So I actually decided certification and decertification of good and bad cops and correction officers, and I believe that had the agencies put more priority on training, the way this industry does, we get a lot of people out of hot water. The ethics training alone, I mean, if we did it every 2 years, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
You could go 12 years and not have any refresher training, with the exception of going to the range and stuff with them. But that's it. I love that. The ethics reminder, because that also you can hold people accountable. You can hold that other licensee accountable, because you could be like, look, man, I know you went to the same training I did, and you know what you're doing is, not up to snuff. It's, it's not ethical.
Yeah.
And I love that, because you can actually hold people accountable. And I think in an industry where we're doing $500,000 to $1 million transactions, I think it's critical that we have as much training as possible, right? Because you could really screw somebody up.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking for all of us on that regard.
Right.
We all have to be on our A game. You did car sales, and car sales is the second most stressful life purchase someone could make.
Right.
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 And when I go to a car dealership to go pick up a vehicle, I've never been in and out in 15 minutes. That doesn't even exist in a
No.
car dealership. You're
Yeah.
at least half your day is gone. And I think they do that because they want to check, dot all the I's, cross all the T's and stuff too.
Yeah.
I don't even when I went there with cash, I was stuck there for like 6 hours.
Well, even if you're selling a vehicle, they don't even
Yeah.
pay you right then and there. You leave the car, but then you got to come back for the check like a day or two later.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
everything takes time, right?
Yeah.
But everything's very thorough, and I like that. I think that's that attention to detail is critical, and that's how I know. If you get like some lender that's like, yeah, we'll get you approved and everything here in an hour. I'm like, nah, man, that's not true approval. You didn't even ask me my source of income or anything else. You
Yeah.
just did a credit check. I just had a deal go under because of that.
Really?
Yeah, they swore to me that my buyer was was approved, ready to go. The other licensee called the lender, which is absolutely a great practice
Yeah.
to do. Called my client's lender. Are we good to go? Absolutely. We're going through with this. Oh, we just spoke to the underwriter, and since your client's self-employed, we can't count that. That would have been nice to ask and to
Wow.
clarify months ago. 'Cause we're
Yeah.
talking, this was a pre-approval that was like 60 days old, that we were still shopping around and stuff, and we were getting outbid and everything. But yeah, that would have been nice to know.
Right.
And I really appreciate the lenders that go in there and do an actual, damn near an underwriting pre-approval.
Yeah.
Right.
What is your guys' pre-approval process?
So, pre-approval process, typically, we like to retain as much docs as possible. You definitely want to look at pay stubs, W-2s, 1099s, self-employed documentation if you've got it, bank statements if I didn't say that already. But yeah, you kind of want to fully dive in and really analyze everything, make sure that you calculate it correctly. You also want to look at, typically an average of 2 years if possible. But yeah, you want to be in there and fully vet that file as much as possible. So we also back our pre-approvals with a $5,000 closing guarantee. That's actually designed to help our agent and our clients get their offer accepted. 'Cause it makes it look a little bit more attractive. I mean, we vet this file. We've also put $5,000 of our own money on the line. So it's not just a 90% letter. It's a $5,000 guarantee.
Okay.
Right on.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about the industry.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some geekiness real quick. I heard that you are doing card collection again, or what are we doing here?
I'm starting to get back into it. Yeah, I came across my old like hockey and baseball cards, and then like some Pokemon stuff getting in the mix. It's starting to become a little issue. It's fun though. And I was never into. I was always into like sports cards and stuff, but any other type of cards I was never into as a kid. My little brother was into like Pokemon and stuff, and then it just for some reason I got the itch to just like try it out and liking it right now. So,
Right.
And how about you?
Yeah, so haven't got into cards yet. Used to have some cards, but like a lot of those things end up in garage sales and disappear. So those are long gone. But I think a lot of that stuff has started to pick its momentum back up after that new Netflix TV show. I think it's The Collector.
Really?
King.
Right?
Yeah, it's
Collector
about the Golding
King.
auction
Right.
company.
Really?
Yeah, it's a really good show.
Yeah, there's all sorts of like old memorabilia, a lot of trading cards that are worth some big money. But yeah, it looks like it's kind of starting to pick up its movement again, become a little bit more trendy.
Well, what I've seen in the industry, owning a comic book shop and going to some of these shows, is a lot of people lost confidence in the banking systems, and they started throwing their money into tangibles, into collectibles, right? I always, all the experts tell you to diversify. Don't throw all your eggs in one basket. So if you're throwing all your money into just comic books or just into cards, you're making a fatal mistake. I think you should diversify.
Yeah.
But I think that there is some legitimacy in the collectibles market because you're watching these prices spike.
Right.
And we've spoken about
And they
that.
fluctuate just like stock markets do.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. A movie bombs, a book drops. They, you look at rookie cards for certain players. If they lose popularity, do they go?
I
up or
have,
down,
so speaking of rookie cards, I have a Sergei Fedorov rookie card. It's always been in one of those hard plastic cases. It's never been out ever since it was opened, and I got it at the card shop back in like '94 or something like that. Is when I got it. It's $6. I might have paid more for it back in the '90s than what it's worth now. But he was an amazing player. He just, I don't know, maybe people forgot about him. I don't know. But look him up.
Yeah.
Make my card worth some more money. No, I really got into him. He was one of my best friend's favorite players growing up. And I'm never going to get rid of that card. My friend, he's passed, and so this card means a lot more to me than I'll ever sell for. So I'm glad it's not worth, the temptation's not there. It's not a $10,000 card that I'm like, I could use 10 grand.
Right.
But so I'll keep on this card forever.
Right.
Yeah, I think the promise or the potential for something, as simple as a comic or a card or something, all of a sudden being able to buy you a house, We've spoken about it on the show. If you have Action Comics 1, that's a $3 million book.
Yeah.
That's a significant book to have. Even paying Heritage Auctions the 30% fee to auction off that book, you're still more than set. But I'm going to lead into this video I want to show you.
Yeah.
This is, a lot of people are doing the DIY stuff. Whether it's doing the collectibles, trying to build up their portfolio that way, or trying to improve maybe their home, or improving the value of said things. Like comic books, you can press and clean a comic book and raise the value, but you got to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're doing,
Well, graders also look for that stuff, right? And they won't grade you if it looks like it's been cleaned.
If it's been
not cleaned.
Cleaned is okay.
Okay.
Restoration is like recoloring, adding more staples, replacing staples, trimming the book.
Oh, okay.
That kind of stuff. That's restoration. But just cleaning and pressing the book, basically ironing out the book, that's fine.
Okay.
The graders are okay with that. Same with cards. However, if you don't know what you're doing, you could destroy things. It's the same with DIY. So let me show you this. Are you guys able to see this?
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah. Let me see here. Where's that at here? go.
It's an old-fashioned hammer drill there.
That's that there, man. I sit there and I see stuff like that. I'm like, oh God, that's real. That's not.
Yeah, that's not
staged.
scripted. Yeah.
Right.
So for those of you that are not watching the video, the DIY wiring, and we've all at one point, if you're in the business long enough, or you've purchased your own home, especially an older home,
Yeah.
the DIY electrical, you'll see it, man.
That's scary stuff, man.
Yeah, what we saw in the video was person was just touching the outlet connection. And
Yeah.
it was turning and
Just the
on and off a
faceplate.
closet. Yeah, just the faceplate. And it was turning the closet light on
Yeah.
and off. And then, of course, the lady with the drill using a hammer on the back of the drill. But I remember my first home I purchased in Anchorage, in South Anchorage. And shame on that home inspector, man. I'm not going to say their name, but they're trash.
Yeah.
The whole downstairs of this house was drop ceiling and wood paneling.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he had inspected everything, obviously. And oh no! So we gutted out the house. We ripped out all the drop ceiling. And one of the things that happened in one of the rooms, we see, as we pull down one of the panels for the drop ceiling, we see wires that have been duct taped together with the can lighting. Just horrible. Fire hazard, all that the guy missed. But the worst thing that happened there, and I don't throw this on the inspector too much, other than the fact that clearly the inspector didn't pop the panel, actually look and inspect. So my friend's mom was there. She's like a grandma, adopted grandma to the kids. She's passed now, but just a sweet old woman, someone that I hold in high regard. You know, there's a certain women out there, especially the elderly woman, that just their presence commands respect. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
You basically sandwich them in a ma'am sandwich because they just carry themselves very old school,
Mm-hmm.
very loving, but very stern too at the same time. And we're in this room as we're popping the drop ceiling. Apparently, the previous owner had their porn collection. And the biggest porn box I've ever seen in my life falls and hits her right in the head.
Oh, man.
And I'm talking about this porn box was damn near the size of my laptop.
Oh,
it was
wow.
like the ultimate collection type thing. Dude, I was turned bright red. And you're immediately going into defense going, that's the previous owner.
Yeah, sure it is.
Right.
She knows.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my God. And that's my segue to always have a reputable inspector do your home inspections, man.
Yeah.
This home inspector was trash. And he humiliated me in front of this poor lady, man. That was so horrible. She laughed about it. I
Yeah.
didn't laugh. I was just humiliated. My kids didn't know what to say. I mean, we were just like, because there was no dodging it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I say,
There's no alt tab.
yeah, no, not at all, man. What's the craziest inspection story you've had?
I don't have a crazy one other than like finding mold and stuff when we weren't supposed to.
Oh.
I did hear a story where a new home inspector had gone into a crawl space and went into like a darker corner of it and came across the skeleton, but it was like the Halloween skeletons, but it was like one of the real life, like realistic looking ones. And he popped up, smacked his head on the rafter above. And I've heard a couple of those types of stories, but I don't have any crazy ones myself yet, at least.
How about you?
No, I typically don't see inspections on my side of things.
Yeah, we don't talk
Yeah.
about that.
Oh, yeah. No, the craziest story I've heard just from the trooper side.
Yeah.
I've been to some crazy calls, but I've never been to one this one was and I wasn't at this one. This is one that's kind of legendary out here in the valley. But this guy, trooper, it was wildlife trooper, my sergeant when he was a regular trooper, and a couple of other troopers. They go to a call. What happens is this lady, she has a split level house, and with like the open base, the walkout basement, sliding glass door type thing, and it was during the rut. So a bull moose comes up to the glass, sees his reflection, thinks it's
another bull, and smashes it.
Smashes through the window, is now in the house, and is running around trapped in the house in the downstairs, and is getting tore up, and it's that radiant heat. So getting all cut up. It looks like a homicide scene in there. Troopers respond. They don't see the moose, so they're trying to clear the house. The lady's upstairs, and this is I want to say this is like late 1990s, early 2000s when this happened. And anyway, at one point, one of the troopers, the wildlife trooper, you hear him screaming in the bathroom, and shots fired. The bull moose comes out of one of the rooms and charges him while he's in the bathroom. He falls back into the tub as he's shooting. They finally killed this moose. They literally it was one of those, oh my God, did that really just happen? I don't believe there was any high-fiving, but it was just one of those, all right, we're done. And the lady's just looking at them in shock, and they're like, okay, ma'am, it's all yours. The house is safe, and they just left. This dead moose sitting.
Oh man! And people that aren't from Alaska or have ever been around moose, they are massive.
Yeah, it's like
there's no pulling one out without some type of machinery.
No, these guys just left. They were like, all right, we're out.
Oh man!
And they left, and this lady's got this dead bull moose.
Was it like a trophy though?
A mix of a homicide scene and a horror film in her whole downstairs area. And I could imagine, can you imagine if that happened just before like an inspection or something?
Oh my gosh. The final walkthrough, walking in, there's a dead moose down there. At least their freezers could be filled.
Yeah. Well, it depends on which client you have.
Yeah.
Right? You have one client like, well, if they throw in the moose, we'll give them a credit on the glass.
Yeah. There would be folks out there like that, definitely.
I want to paint credit and leave the moose.
Yeah. I want a new carpet or fill the freezer.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
All right, so what do you have coming up?
Let's see. Well, this week I'm leaving for Minnesota for a hockey tournament. Yeah.
And now what? Explain to people. It's not just any hockey tournament.
No, so I play for the Alaska Warriors. It's a disabled. It's a veteran team, but you have to have a service-connected disability in order to be. It's called the Warrior Program. It's a USA Hockey wide program. And we're going there to play against other Warrior teams, so other veterans that have some type of service-connected disability. And it's an awesome event. We go to a couple of tournaments a year for this program. If you're ever interested in playing hockey, we use it as our therapy. It's for the camaraderie that we don't have anymore since we've been out. It's been great. It's helped a lot of people. If you're in Alaska, give me a call. I'll set you up with the info that you need. Challenge Alaska is the manager of it. They're a great nonprofit. They help people with disabilities enjoy the outdoors and sports and stuff. So this program is put on by the tournament's put on by the Hendrickson Foundation, and they're like a Hockey's for Everybody thing. So they're going to have a Warrior division, which has its own, I think, 6 divisions within it, and each division has 4 to 8 teams, I believe. So there's gonna be a lot of Warrior teams there. There's also special hockey, so for kids that have special needs, deaf hockey, blind hockey, sled hockey, so people that have mobility issues. So for the last 3 years, the last 2 years, we sent Warrior teams. The first year we only sent 1, and last year we sent 2 Warrior teams, and we've won both times, both years. So
that's awesome.
Last year we also brought a sled team, and the sled team won, so Alaska swept everything last year.
Wow.
And this year we're bringing 2 Warrior teams and the sled team again, so looking for that three-peat.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a great thing. If you're ever interested, even not just hockey, but if you have a family member with special needs, give me a call. I'll get you in touch with the right people at Challenge, and they'll take care of you. It's a great program. They do a lot of great stuff. There's skiing to water sports and hockey, triathlon now, or not biathlon. the ones where you like ski, run, or shoot and stuff like that.
Wow.
They just got some new those state of the art laser weapon ranges. So you know they don't have to live fire or anything. They can practice, and it's amazing stuff.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's my thing. I got that coming up next weekend. Hopefully that turns out pretty good. And then the week after that is Colony Days, I believe. So we got the parade and the client appreciation barbecue.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Regan, what you got going on?
Yeah, nothing too crazy. A lot of open houses coming up. Just a lot of opportunities to continue to build a business.
Yeah. Are you seeing for a little bit there, open houses weren't getting very many participants showing up. Are you seeing an increase in people showing up?
I think it really just depends on the location.
Yeah.
You know, the commute time as well. And I think places down in KGB have a little bit harder time producing foot traffic versus more central areas, subdivision areas kind of tend to produce a little bit more clients. But I wouldn't say we've had any sort of like jam-packed open house by any means. I think people are still a little cautious, especially rolling into summer months as well. There's a lot of other activities people want to pursue, but yeah, it's consistent.
Right on.
People need to stop sleeping on Settlers Bay and KGB area, man.
Right.
That place
KGB is
building up.
blowing up.
It's
They're
blowing up.
expanding it. I think the next few years it's going to be multiple lanes all the way to Settlers. I believe that's the plan.
Yeah. Right.
They've already
There's nowhere
started.
else to build.
Yeah.
They have to. I spoke to new construction guys. They're struggling to find land. So when they find stuff down there, they're all over it.
Yeah.
Right.
I would start looking at land at Point McKenzie area, all that area there too, because that's going to start building up. But
Yeah.
right now, people leave it because they're like, because hell, I remember as a trooper, you'd lose a trooper for an hour if they had to go down to Point McKenzie for any reason whatsoever,
Oh yeah.
because it's such a long trek. But now with them expanding the roadway and improving the roadway there, I mean, that's going to be the spot.
Right. Right.
There's truly nowhere for these new builders to be building right now. It's, in particular, Anchorage, so they have to come out here.
Yeah.
I've noticed. I think I mentioned last show they're purchasing land left and right out in Talkeetna Willow area now too, and Big Lake's starting to sell off too.
Yeah. Yeah. Big Lakes is getting really popular. Yeah.
You know,
What you got going on, Lou?
and just we've got the new book here, the Good Boy.
Yeah.
we got that.
I got a copy signed by the artist. That was great.
Yeah, that's an all-military project. That's we're veteran-owned and operated. The creator, Garrett Gunn, he's an Army vet, and Mike Provo's an Army vet, and created the cover for it.
Yeah, the cover looks great.
We went with like a cyberpunk theme. The other thing that I love about the book is just the storyline. It's basically, it's a reverse on John Wick. In this storyline, John Wick is killed and his dog is going around getting payback.
Yeah. That's
And,
awesome.
and
Yeah, I
then-
haven't had a chance to read it yet, but it's on my to-do list.
Yeah, there's another book coming out. Bring it up on screen here, but it's called Bad Girl, and this is supposed to be his nemesis.
Yeah.
And so this one will be coming out here in June.
That looks
And
awesome.
We'll have this here at the shop, and then we're going to be. This is the regular cover. We'll have another custom cover for that as well, and that one is, she's the mercenary that has been contracted to kill Good Boy.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, I thought that was really cool. The big thing is just encouraging people right now to either get in. They can come by the shop, have a cup of coffee, get into the collectibles, and then of course encouraging people for home ownership to contact.
I'll say
us.
since we've been doing the show in the shop, I think that's what sparked my my new interest in cards and collecting and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's my first comic I bought in, God, I don't know how long. So I think you're a bad influence, Lou.
Well, I do want to put out this one shout out that's critical, I think, because they're struggling on finding small business owners that will actually assist. We have a young lady that works for us now as an apprentice, and it's through the program 9-Star and Youth 360. It's a partnership. So they approached us and they were like, "Hey, we have these kids between ages 16 and 24, I believe, that have aged out of OCS and foster care, and they need a profession. They need to be able to
Some experience.
earn income.
Yeah.
So what's awesome is I was like, well, yeah, I'll take one. And they're like, I said, how much will it cost me? It doesn't cost me anything as a business owner. I just have to supervise them. They can't be left unattended. But I have a staff member now that's learning to be a barista, learning to run the retail side and the collectible side of the business. And 9-Star pays them.
That's awesome.
9-Star pays them a wage, also gives them benefits as well as a place to live. So it's a win-win, and they also provide them transportation to and from work.
That's awesome.
That's incredible.
So
That's
I
great.
would encourage all the businesses out there, if you're looking for an apprentice in your business, they can do clerical. There's not many limits on what they can do. The big thing is that they must be supervised, because otherwise it's not an apprentice program.
Yeah.
And you're receiving free assistance, free labor essentially at your small business, and you get an opportunity to help somebody develop themselves and to
Get on the track, yeah.
Yeah, get on track. And then, of course, this could turn into a full-time career for her, or she can use this experience to go and get herself a jump into another career.
Yeah.
Where she's managing a business or whatever. So
That's awesome.
I would encourage people, in whatever field it is, whether it be finance or otherwise, you need an apprentice.
There you go.
9-Star. And I'll put the link for them as
Yeah.
well.
So we got comics, cards, and sports covered. Regan, what are some of your hobbies when you're not helping people get mortgages?
Depends on the season, to be totally
Yeah.
honest with you. Winter, I'm typically a little bit more involved into video games. Come summertime, big into jet skis, fishing, side by sides, going out to the glacier. Just
Right on.
really seasonal guy.
Yeah. Well, that's I think everybody in Alaska.
Right.
They have I have my hockey throughout the winter, fishing and stuff, and then I also game a little bit whenever the kid lets me get away for a couple of hours. But
I've been hooked on Apex Legends, man.
Yeah.
I'm tired of them 13-year-olds destroying me in that game, though. I'm going to need that.
things have changed since I was grinding the old Call of Duty days back with my
these
friends.
kids are savages, man.
Yeah.
They're savages.
Their trash talk's not as good as the original Modern Warfare 2 days, but
No, they're still pretty hurtful. I've been told to delete my game and,
your dog water.
yeah.
Right.
Jump out my window.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn.
What's your favorite type of game to play?
Oh man, I'm all over the place, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. There's not even like a specific genre. I mean, racing games, Formula One, Mill Sims. Even we were playing Sons of the Forest, which is kind of
Yeah.
a survival-based game.
I haven't been able to play that recently because that's the big downfall with that game is the single host. Like the host
Right.
has to be on to play with it.
Right.
And the guy that was hosting ours, was in the middle of moving and stuff, so we haven't been able to play in a couple months. But have you heard of that game, Lou?
No.
It's you're in a helicopter crash. You were there to try to find like some researchers and stuff, and then it just gone horribly wrong. And they're not
Yeah.
zombies.
So
but-
you're like in survival mode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it turns from it turns into like a survival-based game, right? And so
Wow.
essentially what it is like after this crash landing, you've got to craft things, survive, and there's cannibals as well as like infected. So there's like two
wow.
different
There's storyline to it where like
Yeah.
you're trying to find this researcher or is he a researcher, the main guy?
something along that. There's a
But
couple.
there's
of them.
the storyline. You're finding like different things along the road that tells a story about maybe what happened, why there's these cannibals or these infected people. But you have to craft everything. You have to craft you can build log cabins and bridges and stuff. That's kind of the fun part for me. Is you have to chop down trees and everything, and you go hunting. You can build traps. You can build fish traps, and
Yeah, it's like a survival horror game. Is
yeah,
what it is.
Okay,
it's
so it's
addicting.
like-
If you start it, then you get hooked. I was forced to take a little bit of a break, but I know as soon as we get back into it, it's going to be a game.
So I'm going
over
to
again.
trigger a bunch of the listeners. So basically you're saying it's like Minecraft for adults.
Almost.
Almost a lot more scary.
Yo, we just had like half of the listeners going, screw you. Well, guys, if you want to be able to get a hold of us, you've got Kevin on Instagram, and his Instagram's on screen here, and then my Instagram's up here. We will have all of Regan's contact information on in the description. How can people get a hold of you for the most part?
Yeah, I think the best way is always just to give me a call on my cell phone, actually, which is 907-355-6087. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call.
Yeah.
Hey, say that again, but smoother.
907-355-6087.
Lou's got his toys now. Hey Lou, before we ended, we got a little bit of request from Jacob in Washington.
Okay.
He likes he's listened to every episode so far, and he wants to know a little bit more about older comics.
Older comics.
We can get into it in another episode, but what's one of your favorite older ones? We kind of talked about it a little bit yesterday.
Yeah. For me, I'm an oddball. I like Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah.
And I told a customer that yesterday, and he gave me this disappointed look. But I was like, I liked Legion of Superheroes, the 70s version of Legion of Superheroes. And I think maybe that's why he gave me the look, because the new stuff is trash. But the 70s version of Legion of Superheroes, it was, Superboy and all these other, it was like high school for superheroes in the future, thousands of years or 1,000 years in the future, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're learning to be superheroes, and you've got your senior class, your sophomores, your freshmen, blah blah blah. And I loved it, man, because it resonated with me. I could be like, it triggered your imagination. You're like, wow, that would be cool if you had a superpower to be among people that are still learning their powers and learning how to be a team and stuff. I thought that was really cool.
That sounds cool.
And they had ridiculous heroes, and they had really cool heroes. You had Karate Kid and Karate Lad, and everything. It typically was Lad, Lightning Lad, Saturn Lad, Psychic Lad. It was just all these different, and they all had flight rings, so they could all fly.
That's awesome.
And then, Karate Lad was a guy who was really good at karate. It was kind of ridiculous, but when you watched him, he was a bit overpowered, but it was kind of cool to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of like when ninjas there was a whole, like, late 70s, early 80s was the ninja time, man. It
Was
like,
it?
Yeah, it was like everything was ninja this, ninja that, Revenge of the Ninja, Return of the Ninja, American Ninja. So, anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
That was my favorite. We definitely can do our next episode touch more on the older books, because there's certain time frames for the books, because you've got your golden age, your silver, your bronze, your copper, and your modern age. So
yeah. Let's plan that out. And if any of you listeners out there or viewers now have any questions or topics you want us to discuss, send us some messages. You got our social media contacts right there, and we'll work it out.
I'm gonna get the camera set up more auto, because I want to do you dirty like that one. Was it not Will Ferrell? Who's the guy from Step Brothers? Who's
I know you're talking about JC or something C. Riley, right?
Yeah. Riley. He did this show on Adult Swim where he's like this professor, and he's always chasing the camera. He's always slightly off on the camera angle.
John C. Riley, that's his name. Yeah. He's awesome. I
used
love
to think
that guy.
that was hysterical.
Yeah.
He'd just look at the camera, and then the camera would switch too quickly, and he'd try to keep up. Oh, God. I'm a simple man. Simple things make me laugh.
Oh, yeah. It's the little things.
All right. Well, Regan, thank you for your time. Thank you for being
thanks for
the
coming
show.
on.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me.
All right. And, guys, we will see you next episode. And please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this with your friends, family, and
Everybody.
Everybody.
Buy Sergei Fedorov cards.
That's right.
Have a good one.
See you next time.